June 18, 2014. Jeff Bezos walks onto a stage in Seattle, holding a device he claims will change the world forever. It took 4 years of secret development. It had 6 cameras, a 3D display, and features that seemed like science fiction. Bezos was so confident, he priced it exactly like the iPhone. Fast forward just 3 months later, that same device was being sold for 99 cents. Within a year, Amazon was forced to write off $170 million in unsold inventory. This wasn't just a product failure. It was a massive, expensive, and deeply embarrassing ego trip that almost derailed the most powerful company on Earth. This is the autopsy of the Amazon Fire Phone, and the secret reason why Jeff Bezos is actually glad it happened. In 2010, Amazon was invincible. They owned the e-commerce world. They owned the e-reader market with the Kindle. But Bezos was obsessed. He didn't want to just sell you things through an app on your iPhone or Android. He wanted to own the vessel you used to buy them. He wanted to cut Apple and Google out of the equation. But there was a problem. Bezos didn't build a phone for the customer. He built a phone for himself. He micromanaged every detail, demanding wow factors that nobody actually asked for. Behind the sleek glass walls of Amazon's secret Lab 126, the atmosphere wasn't visionary. It was suffocating. Insiders later leaked that the Fire Phone wasn't a collaborative effort. It was a monarchy. One lead engineer reportedly expressed concerns that the 3D dynamic perspective was draining the battery too fast and adding zero value to the user experience. The response from leadership? Jeff wants it. That was the end of the discussion. Bezos was so obsessed with the cool factor that he ignored the basic laws of smartphone physics. Meetings became sessions of how to please Jeff rather than how to solve customer problems. Engineers were working 100-hour weeks on features they knew were going to fail. It was a $170 million train wreck that everyone inside saw coming, but nobody was allowed to stop. The crown jewel of the Fire Phone was something called dynamic perspective. It used 4 front-facing cameras to track your head movements, making images on the screen look 3D. Think about that. 4 extra cameras, massive battery drain, and years of engineering, just so your lock screen could look a little bit deeper. It was a gimmick, a $170 million gimmick. Reviewers called it nauseating and useless. Then there was Firefly, a dedicated button that let you point the camera at any object, a book, a grocery item, a CD, and instantly buy it on Amazon. To Bezos, this was the ultimate shopping tool. To the customer, it felt like carrying a barcode scanner in your pocket that was constantly trying to reach into your wallet. It wasn't a smartphone, it was a buying machine, and people hated it. But the features weren't the real reason the Fire Phone died. There was a much bigger, much more fatal flaw that Amazon ignored until it was too late. And it's the same mistake that kills most tech startups today. The Fire Phone ran on Fire OS. It looked like Android, but it was a forked version. That meant no Google Maps, no YouTube, no Gmail. And the Amazon App Store was a ghost town compared to Apple. Amazon expected people to pay $649, iPhone prices, for a phone that couldn't even run the most popular apps in the world. By September, the disaster was undeniable. Sales were non-existent. Amazon dropped the price from $199 on contract to 99 cents. Still, nobody bought it. The Fire Phone was dead on arrival. But here is the twist. If you look at the Fire Phone today, you'll see something familiar. The team that failed the Fire Phone? They didn't get fired. Bezos took the voice recognition technology and the hardware engineers from the phone project and moved them to a new top-secret device. A device that didn't have a screen. A device that only listened. Without the $170 million failure of the Fire Phone, the Amazon Echo and Alexa would never have existed. The Fire Phone is a masterclass in what happens when a brilliant founder stops listening to the market and starts listening to their own ego. It was a disaster, but for Amazon, it was the most expensive tuition they ever paid. So, Would you ever buy a phone made by Amazon today if they tried again? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into tech's biggest failures, hit that subscribe button. We've got a story about Google's biggest graveyard coming up next that you don't want to miss. Inside Amazon, the Fire Phone wasn't called a phone. It was Project Tyto. Bezos didn't just want a smartphone. He wanted a device that could see like a human. He was obsessed with a concept called head tracking. One former designer leaked that Bezos would spend hours in the lab, moving his head back and forth, demanding the 3D icons follow him perfectly. While Apple was perfecting the camera's focus and Google was expanding its ecosystem, Amazon's brightest minds were stuck trying to make a lock screen wallpaper look like a hologram. It was a classic case of solution in search of a problem. No one ever woke up and thought, "I wish my icons moved when I tilted my head." But Bezos convinced himself this was the iPhone killer feature. To make the 3D effect work, Amazon had to cram 4 ultra-low-power infrared cameras into the corners of the phone. This created a massive heat problem. The phone would get uncomfortably hot just by sitting in your pocket. But the real kicker? Those cameras meant the phone was bulky and expensive to manufacture. Amazon's bill of materials was skyrocketing. Instead of subsidizing the phone to get it into people's hands, the classic Amazon strategy, they got greedy. They priced it at $649. For the same price, you could get an iPhone 6 or a Galaxy S5. Amazon, a company known for low prices, was suddenly trying to sell a premium luxury item that felt like a plastic prototype. And then came the final nail in the coffin, the exclusive deal. In a move that mirrored the original iPhone launch, Amazon signs an exclusive contract with AT&T. In 2007, that was brilliant. In 2014, it was a death sentence. By limiting their audience to only one carrier, they locked out millions of potential customers who were already tied to Verizon or T-Mobile. They built a phone nobody asked for, filled it with features nobody used, priced it higher than people expected, and then made it impossible for half the country to even buy it.